but I have to say, Nick, I've worked with Nick for a couple of years now. Feels like a lot longer. But he has done a tremendous job leading entrepreneurship through the Entrepreneurship Club and just generally through his involvement with the school. Really, if there's a student out there that has taken advantage of everything the school has to offer, it's Nick. I've said it before, but and despite all of his entrepreneurial energy, he's taking a job with GE of all places. But no, I think it's good. I would have made the same decision. Really competitive program. It's got a bright future ahead of him, and look forward to working for him one day. So anyway, the floor is his. He's gonna, I guess maybe have the judges introduce themselves and then.
Yeah. Before we get into introducing the companies, if each of the judges could go down and introduce themselves so we can get a feel of who's here. So we could start at the end. Thank you.
Mark Rock, an ER doctor, started several urgent cares in town, and also do investing. I'm also on the investment committee of a hedge fund in town, the Trolley Fund, which we've raised about $5.5 million. Our plan is to put that money to use for most seed startups in the not just Central Virginia, but really kind of think of Virginia, everywhere in Virginia except for Northern Virginia. They've got their own kind of world up there. So that's kind of how I was kind of brought to be invited to this evening. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm John Lunsford. I'm an investment banker, and looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say.
I'm Chris Warnham. I head corporate development and acquisitions for the Evergreen family of companies. We've got a portfolio of about 15 consumer products brands that we own and operate. I'm also on the board of directors at ACG Richmond, and we're one of the sponsors.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Saxon. I'm also with Trolley.
I'm Catherine Besser. I'm a retired corporate executive from Capital One, on the board of directors of West Carey Group, which was a startup 10 years ago in the advertising sector, and on the faculty here at the University of Richmond as the executive in residence.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. So with that, I guess we'll get into the first company. As you can see, the first company we have today is AngelShare. It was founded by a group of 3 sophomores, Max Gagne, Andrew Talcott, and Eric Gonzalez. Their business helps everyday people like you and me invest in an alternative asset class that they otherwise would not have access to. So if you guys want to come on up, let's give them a round of applause, guys.
So while I was on a train ride from Richmond to Boston, an executive chef from a popular Manhattan restaurant sat down next to me. I struck up a conversation, and he was telling me about the sommelier that he worked with at his restaurant. And he was telling me about how he got started in his career by investing in, or helping mid-level bankers at Wall Street banks invest in investment-grade wines. So they would give him large sums of money, and he would invest in these wines, and they saw incredible returns. And while he was telling me this long story, all I could think of is, why can't I have access to these returns and these investments? So my name is Eric Gonzalez. I'm presenting with Andrew Talcott and Max Gagne, and this is AngelShare. We sought out to address 2 main problems with the industry. 1, the price of fine wine is way too expensive for the average self-directed investor to invest in. 2, there is no easy way for the self-directed investor to invest in investment-grade wines. The solution to this is AngelShare. AngelShare is a platform for self-directed investors to invest in investment-grade wines, so they can gain access to new assets, diversify their portfolio, and earn on investments.
So alternative assets right now are in a high demand. These 3 companies are examples of platforms that we're trying to make ourselves, but with different assets. So Masterworks allows their users to invest in pieces of art, so they could become a part owner of a Warhol, for example. Fundrise allows users to invest in real estate projects that they wouldn't normally be able to afford. And lastly, Rally Road does the same thing, and they allow their users to invest in collectible cars. So how did we come up with wine? Well, wine has been proven to be wine has proven to have strong risk-adjusted returns, and it has proven to be a true alternative asset. A couple of data points to prove that. First, the Livex Fine Wine Investables Index, which is an index of some of the top fine wines, has a correlation of just 0.15 with the S&P 500, which truly proves that this is an alternative asset. Fine wine also has a Sharpe ratio, which is a ratio that measures risk to return of 1.42 over the last 10 years. And compared to the S&P 500, which is 0.79, this was a pretty convincing stat. And lastly, over the past year, fine wine experienced a 10.2% return on investment. And so a little bit about our market size. The large pool that we are gathering from is the group of 50 million self-directed investors in the US. We then whittled this down a little bit to the 20 million users, or the 20 million people who are currently investing in alternative assets based off of the companies that I mentioned earlier, and then some other research that we did. And then if we can just attain 1% of this 20 million pool, the target number of investors on Angel Share would be 200,000 users.
So we're just going to run quick through the rendering that our coder is using while coding the app. So this initial slide is a login slide. You log in, welcome to Angel Share, and then you get started. So this is just a basic listing. It shows the basic information about the list, just about the wine, the name, the overall price. These are just hypothetical numbers. You can just scroll through like that, or you can look in a list profile, and you see like the basic information on what would get you interested in purchasing a share. And next you would click Explore, and this would give you some more information on the wine specifically. So it would give you history on the vineyard, the vintage that year, as well as transaction details and trends in the price of the wine. And this basically will allow you to make a good decision on whether you want to buy. And so when you want to purchase, you would click Buy, and you'd be able to see the number of shares. And if you want to, you customize that number depending on how much you want to invest in. And then you would confirm the purchase and get a congratulatory pop-up, and you'd be able to view your seller. And the seller is basically like where you can see all your inventory, and this would allow you to see the value of your portfolio as well as the activity of each of your investments.
So sort of the way this would work is Angel Share would run as a trading platform for alternative assets. We would open a Delaware Series LLC, which would allow us to have a collection, which would be Angel Share as a whole, and then we could open different series underneath that entity for each individual case. This way, each individual case has its own, when it has gains or losses, is kind of felt as like its own separate entity. Secondly, we would offer Regulation A offerings, which is an offering for non-accredited investors. This way we could raise capital without some of the legal and regulatory fees that normal traditional IPOs have. And so just a monetization example of this, our business model has 4 steps: purchase, divide, sell, and commission. So first we would purchase a $30,000, this is just an example, we'd purchase a $30,000 case of 2019 Bordeaux wine. We would then sell $30,600 worth of shares of this. The $600 difference is our management fee, which is 2% of that original $30,000 case. We would then divide this into $50 per share, which would be equivalent to 612 shares. And then as that wine appreciates in value over time, which is anywhere from 6 months to 10 plus years, we will open trading windows within our platform that will allow people to, either get out or get into this specific wine. So in this example, the wine appreciated 10% in value to $33,000, which would mean each share would be just under $54. And then as people want to cash out their new investment, we would take a 2.5% commission fee on their transaction.
So going forward, like the future of Angel Share, our initial phase is to secure the 200,000 users that we talked about previously, and that would allow us to have a steady user base that would then allow us to go into phase 2, which would be offer other investment grade spirits, which include whiskey, champagne, which would allow us to expand our portfolio and offerings. And the last phase is to transition into a mixed package, and this is similar to like mutual fund idea where investors who want to invest more money into the offerings would be able to invest in multiple cases of various types of spirits. So thank you for listening, and I'd like to open up for questions.
So we're 5 minutes for questions. Yeah, you guys hit the time. We're giving you guys 7 minutes. We told you 6. So you guys 7. We'll 5 minutes for questions.
Questions?
So we've counted in at this point, there's actually storage facilities that specialize in wine. So they have like specific climate controlled, the storage is like super safe and insurance covered. We've looked into a couple examples of these once we actually start purchasing cases of wine. And the price would be covered in part of that management fee that we charge.
What's the average cost, or can you give me a range of a case of investment grade wine?
Yeah, so from the research that we've done, a lot of the wines that we'll be choosing will be sort of on the higher end of like a $30,000 to $50,000 range per case of wine. So anywhere in that range. We've thought for the less expensive wines of getting to that higher value in order to have like a better return on it. We could buy multiple cases of a less expensive form of wine.
Why a Delaware LLC for each
Oh,
case of wine?
so the companies that we mentioned previously that do the same alternative asset trading use the Delaware Series LLC, so so the users who are buying a share of a car or a case of wine, they're buying a share of that series. So it's for like the legal transaction. That was like the only Delaware structure, like the series structure that offers that opportunity.
But why Delaware, I guess? The reason I'm asking is, you said you're talking about $30,000 asset, it's gonna cost you a couple $1,000 instead of the LLC, $1,500 to do it Delaware.
Yeah, so the idea is based on, we've looked at the initial costs of a Delaware Series LLC. We thought it was somewhere around
Like the most expensive package was $300 for the LLC.
and then it's an additional, I think, $90 per series. And then on a scale of this, of scaling to our estimates of like a $20 million portfolio, the cost of just like creating a $90 series would be somewhat minimal or coverable.
How about wine features? Why does an alternative investor do this instead of wine features?
Wine features?
Wine futures.
Oh, futures.
Well, I mean, there's ways to do that, but we just thought this was a different approach.
So maybe this will get into it as a different approach, but who do you view as the actual consumer of this product and who's trading on the platform? Who are you targeting?
Okay, so our target market, like from the research that we've done on similar platforms in general, is an investor who has approximately like $1,000 to spend in the ages of between the early 20s and early 30s. So they're trying to take initiative and invest their own money, and they're also open to investing in alternative assets and not the traditional stock and bond.
What's your feelings on the marketing for this? How do you get eyeballs on your site?
We've actually studied similar companies, and they did a lot of social media marketing and also marketing on like advertisements on other investment sites and other investment just websites about personal investing.
If you look at like the cost per click, you think that in those settings?
Specifically into those details,
No.
no, of per click. The main way that we were exposed to a lot of these companies when we started doing our initial research on them was actually like business articles written about them. So whether it was an article in the Wall Street Journal or on Bloomberg, something like that, where that would kind of reveal this idea to the public, is where we at least saw a lot of that praise for like a new idea.
Yeah. I know they're great, right, but they go away very quickly. And then the next week there's another one that comes out. So if you guys go back and look at this, if you're really gonna look at this platform, it's eyes, it's eyes. It's the number of eyeballs that are getting on your site. So when you're gonna start
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next company we have is called Plus One. It is also founded by a sophomore, John Philippou. His company helps college students find matches for pickup games for a variety of different sports. So help me welcome him up here by giving him a warm round of applause. Sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties.
And the clicker's up there? The clicker's up there? Okay, thank you. Well, hello. Can you hear me? Thank you so much for having me today. For those of you who selected me, I'm honored to be here representing Plus One. Plus One is a dream of mine and my friends, and it is designed to make pickup sports easy. Right now, college students are overworked, overstressed, and underplayed. Intramural sports are on the decline on college campuses right now. 63% of college students feel very lonely, have felt very lonely over one point of the past year on their campus. Almost over a quarter of students feel they have difficulty with social relationships, and over 85% of students have felt overwhelmed during their last year at their university. It is Plus One's mission to change this. It is Plus One's mission to connect people, to empower people to play, to create a community, and to ignite a revolution of play. Introducing Plus One. Simply pick your game, choose to play with existing friends, or open it up to meet new friends, and then add your details to watch your game come to life. Right now, there are 19 million undergrads on college campuses across the United States, and 72% of those students participate in at least one sport. I believe this 72% number is a bit of a lowball as well, because it doesn't take into account students who exercise regularly or even participate in esports, which are both options on Plus One. However, using that 72% as a conservative estimate, that still leaves us with a market size of about 14 million students. Even though colleges are what we see as our initial market, we also understand that young professionals would be a good secondary market if we can conquer the college landscape. And there are 44 million young professionals in the United States right now who we could see targeting later down the road. For market validation, IM Leagues, which targets a similar market in a very different way, and I'm happy to expand upon that later during question and answer. IM Leagues has 5 million users. Our business model is a mix between ad revenue and subscription. These numbers you see above you are by no means projections or stuff that we've analyzed to say that we can do this within a year or two. These are just illustrative numbers to give you a sense of how we plan to monetize this. If we have 1 million users and we say $10 per user in terms of ad revenue, that will yield $10 million in ad revenue annually. In addition, we plan on targeting schools and offering this service to a school on a subscription basis. So let's take Duke University, where we plan to launch in the upcoming fall. There are 10,000 undergrads at Duke. And for the record, Duke is welcome to purchase this subscription for undergrads, graduate students, or both. But for the sake of the discussion, let's say they only provide it for graduate students. That would mean that that's $10,000 per month in subscription revenue, $120,000 per year just off of marketing to Duke alone. That doesn't take into account schools across the country and the larger schools such as Ohio State and Penn State that we'd love to work with. Right now, we've identified messengers as our main form of competition. This is because this is how college students right now create their pickup sports events. However, we've identified 2 downfalls to this system. One, it's incredibly exclusive. People who aren't in these group chats have a hard time penetrating the group chats and are then excluded and have no means to play with other people. Even if you find yourself in these social circles, these group chats are incredibly inefficient to schedule games in. I'm in group chats all the time. When people say they're coming, people drop out. Then someone throws a message in about what their plans for tomorrow night. And then we have 500 messages we're reading through. People show up to play sports, and no one shows up. We have 8 people, and we're looking for 10, and we can't play basketball. It's incredibly frustrating, and Plus One's trying to solve that problem. We've also identified pickup sports apps as another source of competition. However, we occupy a unique space in that most pickup sports apps only target basketball. While, as I mentioned, we occupy a different space, and we target weightlifting and running and soccer, basketball, baseball, pretty much any sport you can imagine. If a sport isn't on our app, we tell users they can submit it to us, and we can have it on the latest version of the app within 20 minutes. IRL, is a very strong source of competition. However, they have one downfall, and is the way that they invite other people to play in these games. They use what we call a fish line system, in which you invite specific people. This is great if you get 9 yeses to play 5v5 basketball in 10 minutes, but that's not how it works. Someone says no, someone says maybe, and you need to maintain these relationships for hours and hours just to figure out who's coming. It's not very practical. Squads and hoop maps, which you see above you, use a different approach. They basically drop a pin in a location and say, this is where my game's going to be, everyone come play. The problem with this is no one's personally invited, no one feels personally inclined to play, they're not with friends, and they're not with people on their campus. And there's no personal attachment to this game. What we do is different. We use what we call a fish net system. To illustrate this, I'm going to tell there's 2 groups. There's my group of friends and the entire University of Richmond. If I'm looking for 9 people to join me playing basketball, I'll drop the net in my group of friends. If only 3 people bite, I pick up the net and I drop it to the entire University of Richmond. Once the net is full of the 10 people, including myself, who I'm looking for, the net is automatically cut off and no other people are allowed to join the event. It disappears from the rest of the viewers. We think that's very unique and sets Plus One apart. Also, our targeting of colleges is very unique, and there's no other pickup sports app does that right now. Why we see colleges as special are for 2 reasons. One, because we have such a concentrated group of our target market. We know where they are, we know how to market to them, and they have access to resources. The courts and the fields and the ping pong tables and whatever they need is available to them on these campuses. We also know, as I mentioned earlier, there's a need to solve the mental health crisis on these campuses, and we believe we can help people do that through activity and social engagement. Finally, we use a feed format. Much like a Twitter feed, Instagram feed, Snapchat feed, even a Venmo feed, it feels like everything now uses a feed, but these outdated pickup sports apps still use maps and other outdated sources of information. What we do is we organize all the invitations that you've created and that have been given to you all on one feed on the home screen. I have a short demo to show you, but before I play that, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about where the team is right now. Despite only starting 1 year ago on May 10th of last year, so we're about to celebrate our anniversary, we're now funded by MIT, which is a dream of ours. Besides giving us funding, they have also given us incredible mentorships and opportunities to learn from them, to travel to them, and to speak with them. Right now, we have a finished app. We're 100% coded, and we have 100% of the user interface completed. We're going to spend the summer working with about 50 final testers to make sure that every feature we have on that app is perfect and to make sure we're not missing anything that they could use. So without further ado, I'm going to walk you through a short demo of how the app works. So this is the splash screen, which takes you to the home feed of where your events are. And this is how you create an event. You add a title, and you choose a sport, and we're going to play basketball. Then you choose who sees it, and it's only people I invite this time, so it's friends and groups. And you choose how many people, including yourself, you want to play. You choose when and where the event is to be played. You also, you'll see after this, you can add any notes you want, so if someone needs to bring a basketball, you can tell them in the notes. Then you go to your home feed, and it'll appear on the bottom, or it appears in order of time. So here's the post. You can leave comments to have a conversation with the other players. You can up arrow or down arrow other comments, and if not enough people respond, you can click the share button and invite more people so that you have enough people at the game. I'd like to answer any questions at this time.
How many impressions are you expecting to get $10 per ad per user of that open?
The $10 number wasn't, again with the 1 million number, wasn't necessarily a scientific number we arrived at. That was just to give you an estimate of how we're trying to make money. That was not a perfect estimate. Yes.
And what do you think is the critical data that you have to be collecting to figure out both how this is performing and how you're going to tune it?
We want to make sure users continue to use the app. Something we've heard a couple times is that I use the app once, but I don't know if I'd continue to use it. Because if other people aren't it, why should I be on it? So we hope that users come back to the app several times, and we believe they will for a couple reasons. Obviously, we think it's a good way to organize sports, but it's also a good way for people without social groups to become connected with other people and to meet those people. So that would be the main one, I would say.
The main one what?
The main data point would be that the app is being repeatedly used rather than a one-time use and then sitting
So my
idly.
question's about the data that you're going to collect to be able to judge that.
Right. Did that not answer your question?
Just use it.
I'm sorry, I thought they, I would just say,
It's okay.
I would say we can track how many times people are using the app, and as long as people are using the app, and creating events multiple times. That'd be more important to us than users who download and then ignore it.
When do you plan to launch?
Right, so as I said, we're ready to launch, but we're going to wait until fall of next school year for 2 reasons. One, because launching now with a month left in school, even if people start using the app and are excited about it, people are going to forget about it in a month. And also, we want to target college freshmen who are just arriving to these campuses and they don't have friend groups yet. And we really think that'll be a strong way to get in these people's pockets and on their phones right away.
Do you have a university signed up?
We do not have a university signed up. We're planning on launching at Duke, and we've been doing extensive marketing there. For the Duke-UNC game, when people were tenting, we had tables out, we were handing out merchandise, and we've been doing a lot of marketing there. When you search Pickup Sports App Duke, I believe we're in the first couple pages in terms of SOE. And with Pickup Sports App in general, we've actually been climbing in SOE, and we're very proud of that. But if you were to search www.getplus1 app right now, Richmond University Wi-Fi is the only place in the country where the website doesn't load properly. So we have to work that out. But besides that, it's great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let's give one more round of applause. Okay, so the next business we have coming up is called Horace. It is founded by a good friend of mine, Liam Rose, who's from New Jersey. This app, or sorry, not from New Jersey, from California. This is a scheduling app. It is designed to help people better connect with others and better manage their time. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liam and take it away.
Hello everyone, my name is Liam Rose and I'm very pleased to introduce you to Horace, the social schedule. When two people want to get together and spend time, how do they do it? Well, first we usually see it start as sort of a game of tag. So people are using text messaging or email to find a time to actually meet or have a phone call. It's pre-communication, communication. Essentially it's a volley of, oh, I'm free at this time, will you be free at this time? And they go back and forth, and once they actually have this time identified, we reach the next level of the problem. Let's assume everyone's a power user or power schedule, they have something they're happy with, and they put it in there. That's great, that's two people essentially doing the work of one. But let's be real, in most cases, both parties aren't necessarily very organized. So we have one side that is organized, knows when the meeting is, and is on their own time, and one side that does not know when the meeting is and forgets or shows up late. Now, the people who are best served by this are the power schedules, the ones who know that they want to be organized and want to know every single event, when it starts and when it ends. But unfortunately, it's a one-sided marketplace right now, and it's not really working. Now finally, even for the people who are very happy with the existing offering, there still remains a paradox that they face between the visibility of their ideas and maintaining privacy. They want to share so that they can schedule more efficiently and give information to the people they trust, but at the same time, they don't want to give away their entire schedule to everyone. So what would it look like if someone could actually solve all three problems? This is what your schedule would look like in Horace. We experience time in a continuous manner, not day by day or week by week, so we should see it and navigate through it in an appropriate manner. You can see on the left screen, this would be the standard 2-day screen. You can see Monday at the top, which is present time, and the further ahead in the spiral is the further into the future, which you navigate by scrolling in either of the corners. Let's say we want to go to a specific event, change it to the details. All we do is tap it. It automatically reciprocates to the top of the screen in the present time slot. And then if we want the specific content, all we have to do is swipe up, and it's there. Lastly, I'd like to draw your attention to the pie chart at the center. We think this is going to be a powerful behavioral tool for getting our users to schedule their events comprehensively and in multiple categories versus just work or just to-do tasks. Let's talk about these categories. They are health, occupation, responsibility, unique, and social. Any activity you might have can fit into one of these 5 categories that are universal to all users. Now, this not only changes the process of scheduling and makes it more fun, more like a puzzle, versus your very standard grid format scheduling application, but it also gets people to schedule more, which makes the process of scheduling even more efficient as it's easier to identify free times. Additionally, it's not just a more social way of scheduling, it's a better way to schedule. When you schedule through Horace, we solve this two-sided marketplace of time. There are the organized people who already have their schedules and really want accountability from the people they meet with, whereas there are the disorganized people who don't have that same habit of making a good schedule but can still benefit from it and arrive at more of their appointments on time and meet more of their obligations. And finally, we solve the question of privacy by putting this power in the hands of the user. They can segment visibility by event type and by relationship type as they define it, whether they want to share something publicly to just friends and family or some smaller subset of that group, they can easily do so through Horace. We've identified 3 overlapping user groups that we think will make a large portion of our early adopters and early majority. The first being college students. I had the idea for Horace as a result of my own needs. There wasn't really something that could help me balance schoolwork, extracurricular work, managing my social life, staying healthy, trying to find a job or internship, and still having time to talk to my family back at home. Additionally, young families' needs are not being met by the current offerings. Even the family-specific organizers, such as Cozy, assume that all members of a family can actually contribute to this aggregated schedule and is not set up for 2 parents to schedule to take care of their dependents. Lastly, we think that we could get clustered user onboarding through informal, non-commercial groups, whether it's an on-campus club, fantasy football league, all trying to get together to watch a game, congregation trying to publish its service times, or just a group of friends trying to get together and hang out. This drives users in group, which helps them get a better user experience while also accumulating users in their existing social groups versus randomly one at a time. As we know, there are many competitor offerings. This represents the big 3 of general tools that are monetized in some fashion. And next we have the more specific mobile-focused offerings. On this side, we have general use that tends to be for work purposes. And on this side, we have very specific usage that might be, say, to do here, or family organization there, or more like homework organization for these 2. Really, no one has attempted to make a holistic scheduling system for people overall, not just one specific aspect of our lives. Horace will launch with a freemium business model. It will be available simultaneously on the Apple and Google App Stores. Our first revenue streams will come from customization features such as a daily quote and 3 months access to a skin occupying the negative space around the spiral for $3 or $5. We think, all things considered, we think our revenue per year per user, or I'm sorry, we also have ad revenue per user after a certain point of scale. We think $8 per user per year on our advertising model is realistic. Now this gets us to, if we assume an 80-20 distribution, $9.6 value per year per user. If we assume a capture of the total population of working age adults with smartphones, that would be 969 million. If we assume a more realistic 20% market share, that provides us with 193 million revenue per year. Here's the Horace team. As I said, I'm Liam Rose. I first got my start in an entrepreneurial environment in high school. I started as a sales rep for a live entertainment startup. A year later, I'd risen to manage that team of a few hundred salespeople for the county. First, I came to Richmond as a finance student, and I did a finance and accounting internship before I pivoted to entrepreneurship management. About a year ago, I met Thomas, and I quickly realized that he was a very proficient software engineer. He also comes from an entrepreneurial background. His parents had started companies, and he worked on his brother's startup in a development capacity before joining the Horace team. So far, we've conducted qualitative research and interviewing people inside of and outside of our customer groups to better understand their needs and how we can solve them. We've engaged in quantitative research to understand the value of the market opportunity and to find the best channels for low-cost viral user growth. And we've been developing for about 5 months. We have a functioning prototype. We still have some work to do refining the graphical user interface, so it is not yet released to the app stores, but when we release it will be simultaneous. And based on our projected burn rate, we think we'll need $65,000 for the next 2 years of validating the concept, finding product market fit, and positioning ourselves for rapid user growth. Thank you very much. different forms. I think if we think of it as just a scheduling tool, then it seems perhaps like not the greatest opportunity. However, we are taking a social media approach to scheduling, so people may first come for the productive benefits, but over time actually save for the relationships that they manage through Chorus. As one idea, a competitor who entered the space a few years ago called Sunrise was sort of the darling of a lot of tech blogs. A lot of people found it very useful. They got acquired by Outlook for $100 million, and then unfortunately they killed it and it was integrated into Outlook. But there is still a lot of room for a scheduling app, but more particularly there is a need for a scheduling app for younger consumers.
Are you going with mobile or platform? Are you going with mobile first or both? Mobile and like a platform?
So we intend to start with mobile. Because of the language we're using, we can do iOS and Android at the same time. And thankfully, a very close relative of that language is for web development. So after we do iOS and Android, we could very quickly then make an integrated web version. But we're focusing on mobile first because it's best for our user group.
So you can do a native app first, or are you gonna do mobile web application?
In between. So it's not a native, different language, iOS and Android. It's not a web app either. The kind of usability and user interface that we want of our Spiral is just not achievable through a web app. So we're doing it in React Native. So essentially just running it off of JavaScript and getting near native performance.
So that Spiral,
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little bit confused by it. You said it's a 2-day kind of view is your base situation. But I'm scheduling most things on my calendar right now a month out, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Right.
How does that integrate with kind of my other calendars and my scheduling if I'm only viewing kind of the next 48 hours of my life?
Sure. This is just an example of a view, or it is the specific design, but this same shape can be used for several hours, a week, a month. That's part of the benefit of it. I said it was a 2-day view because right here you can see that's Monday at 12, and then this event right here is Tuesday at 12. So it's apples to apples comparison, and it's not necessarily constrained to this is the farthest ahead you can see. You can also navigate to that time ahead on any of these given views. This is just, I think, the best way to explain it and get people familiar with the idea before we start extending it out to a month, in advance,
Right.
in advance kind of thing.
So in your revenue projections, you showed your target audience as being between 18 and 44.
Mm-hmm.
In the comment you made just a couple of seconds ago, you said really you're focused on a younger audience.
Right.
Was then going to migrate into a world where the mainstream calendars just dominate
Mm-hmm.
how work gets done and communication happens. So where's your target market and how do you get through that migration?
Sure. So you're correct. Our initial target market is college students and people who haven't entered that first traditional professional environment where they're mandated to use something like Outlook or Google Calendar. We think that approach has been kind of a flaw of a lot of our competitors. It's much more easy to create something that has sort of social use, entertainment use, and then emphasize the most productive elements of that perhaps in a separate tool to then capture the more traditional enterprise scheduling market versus trying to first start with an enterprise-focused tool, which is about as crowded as it could be, and then trying to extend it out into a more general use case. We're definitely starting mobile to target that group of consumers who are completely dependent on mobile devices for organization. The way we think we'll move more into the traditional space is by creating that web version that competes more directly with Outlook, Google Calendar, or Apple Calendar.
What's the social aspect of it? You mentioned social.
Sure. So this is, you can think of it as your wall. I call it a spiral, but this isn't just something for your sake that you get to see. As I mentioned, you would be the one who determines the level of detail that other people could see, but it's intended that everyone has at least something that people in the network can see, if not public users can see. This is an idea of what my schedule will look like. Yours would probably look very different just by the distribution of colors, perhaps when you wake up, when you go to sleep, many factors. And over time, this sort of shows your identity. It's your identity through scheduling. It shows who you are by how you spend your time. And so at first, it may just be you look on your friends' schedules, you're trying to find when they're free, you're looking for a blank space, but then you think, oh, actually, that's interesting. You know, what might they be doing at that time? Or wow, they're really putting in a lot of time on health or on a hobby versus what I'm doing.
All
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Liam. All right, the next business we have up is called LifeCap. It's founded by Kyle Sheenan. Their business is a medical capsule in the shape of a necklace designed to help people with heart problems. So come up, take it away. Let's give them a round of applause.
How's it going, everyone? Thank you all for coming today. As Nick said, my name is Kyle Sheen, and I'm here to present to you guys LifeCap. Is there a clicker? Perfect. So a little bit about myself. I am a senior at the University of Richmond. I am majoring in accounting and finance. I have a little bit of startup experience. I actually worked at a startup here in Richmond called Feezy, which was in the food space. So as you can see from this picture, I love life, and which is why I'm here to present to you a product that can, should, and will save lives. So as you can see from this chart, the leading cause of death in the United States year after year is heart disease. So a little bit about myself to continue on with that. I was born with a bicuspid aortic valve and mild stenosis, which is classified as a heart disease. So I've been going to a cardiologist for basically every year my entire life. And I'm classified in more at risk than the rest of my peers generally for a heart attack or for some kind of heart disease related illness. So which is why I really always been passionate about this kind of space and moving into this. When I heard about products like Life Alert, I'm sure you guys have heard about them, I was like, wow, finally someone's starting to innovate in this kind of space, and it really pushed me to move forward with my own product. So just a little bit about how heart disease really affects you and how it causes heart attacks. So I like to equate it to a hose in your backyard. I'm sure if you've ever played with a hose as a kid or if you have kids, when you tighten up that hose, it creates a knot and the water just can't flow through. Similar to heart disease is when your blood vessels narrow and the blood just can't get through and you can't function efficiently. Your cardiovascular system will shut down and that causes death. So a viable solution is, research has shown, I'm sure you have heard about that as well, that aspirin is probably your best bet at surviving one of these possibly fatal heart attacks. And statistics show that it can increase your survival rate by up to 30%. So LifeCap provides an easy, innovative solution to have that possibly life-saving drug on you at all times through our easy-to-open patented design and our tracking ability. And it's discreet. So this is our original prototype. It's still in the works right now. I've actually got it engineered by a team at Lehigh, which is being led by my brother actually, and he's getting his master's there right now. So I'm very happy to have him on board the team. So a little bit about our competitive advantage. We're pretty open about the fact that there are competitors, but the one thing that really sets us aside is that those competitors are generally jewelry like stores. And so they don't actually aim to serve a medical purpose. They're more for design purpose. And I actually brought one of them to show as an example. So they're not really meant for the functionality of them. You guys can pass this around, give it a look. And so the one thing that really kind of bugged me about them, I've actually had one of these before. So the fact that you have to screw it off kind of defeats the whole purpose. Because if you have a severe heart attack, you're generally immobilized to the point where you're not going to be able to screw that off or have the time to. So we created this easy solution. You have it around your neck. There's a button, you press the button, place it to your lips, and you're good to go. You chew it, you metabolize it faster, and it increases your chance of surviving. So I believe that it should be paired with a complement good like Life Alert, because Life Alert really gets that ambulance to come get you. This will not alone save your life. This will, in that time that it takes the ambulance to come to get to you, this will increase your chances of surviving through that time. Furthermore, none of our competitors have that tracking ability. So if you leave that device home, it's useless. Furthermore, as I said, they're mostly in the jewelry space, so they do not have a clear goal as in preventing heart attacks. So the financials, The majority of the cost is going to be made up of the tracking device aspect, which I got these estimations from, I'm sure you guys have heard of Tile or some of their competitors. And then the rest of it is comprised of the pill container necklace, which is relatively low cost. It's going to be mostly comprised of stainless steel, compound metal for the necklace, and plastic for the actual button part. Total cost is estimated around $14.30. So when we decide to price for market, we were planning on going in at around $50, which will leave us enough space for the inevitable push for retail. The next steps are to move into Kickstarter. Once we get funding of some sort, we really want to push for a fully functional prototype. And we've gotten estimates anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 for a fully functioning prototype. And I realized initially I thought that sounded crazy for something so small, but after working with the 3D printers, there's not a lot of 3D printers that have the capabilities to make the product that we actually want and put to market. So after we get that funding, we get that prototype, we plan to make an instructional video and make our Kickstarter page. Because I believe that this is a perfect way to gauge market interest and actually get that funding that we need to push into production and lower our costs before we actually make that move. So here's the design, this first sketch, the original sketch by my brother, which is actually on the patent file with the USPTO. And then just a shout out to my other team member who's here today. He's going to be putting on a suit and presenting tomorrow at the AE Innovators Cup in Charlottesville. Just thank you for everything you've done so far. And so now I'd like to open it up to questions. Thank you very much.
What's the value of the tracking device other than I can find it if I leave it at home?
Right, so the main aspect to that is that if you leave it home, so Tile, like you said, it's really just if you need to find it within your home, you click, where's my tile? For this, when you leave your home or you go past 50 meters, it'll send you an alert to your app on your phone that'll tell you that you've left your life cap behind.
You guys looked into the degradation of the product, meaning aspirin's gonna, or I mean aspirin's a pills, pharmaceuticals got a half-life.
Right.
It's gonna degrade in certain situations.
So essentially, it's not meant to be kept like the same pill for a long time. It's meant to be replaced as you need it. So like aspirin, like you said, it has its half-life. So if you replace it every day or every week, depending on the actual pill that you'd be using, because you can use it for prescribed heart medication. Otherwise, we're planning on expanding past that at some point to go into other diseases like epilepsy, whatever kind of medication you have on you. But it varies, like you said, by medication, so it would have to be more on the consumer.
You've seen the new research that's come out in the last month that would suggest aspirin is not effective. What does that do to your concept?
So not effective as in it doesn't thin your blood, or because I've heard the theory that it does.
There's new research out on whether aspirin is an effective solution for heart attacks.
I have not actually heard that exactly. I have heard that.
That it's not, it doesn't prevent recurrence, but it doesn't lower your chances of having a heart attack.
Right.
Even if you haven't had one, you had one.
So like, I'm sure you, well, I don't want to point to you, but I believe based on how the drug actually works that it thins your blood, and that if the blood vessel, if there's narrowing in the blood vessel, it simply allows the blood to go through.
I'm just suggesting you should take a look at the new research that's
Right.
out there.
Okay.
and
New-
dive into-
Both are, so, I mean, really, if you look at the long-term data, it's 25% saves you mortality. So he's still right in that. I think what you're speaking to is the long-term chronic use of aspirin preventing heart disease. So not necessarily heart attack, but preventing long-term heart disease. There's a question of if long-term chronic use of those who do not have cardiovascular disease, is there a benefit? So
Sure.
that's who it is.
So this is more for that one-time
This
use.
is more, I'm having a heart attack, I'm gonna chew on a pill, almost, right?
Right. Correct.
Does that prototype work?
So it's not functional. It's just meant for design. It's just really to show the size, shape, and this is the button where it would go essentially, but it is not functional.
Waterproof?
Waterproof. It's planned to be life-proof essentially, so it's not supposed to impact your daily life in any way.
The tracking device, that Bluetooth or?
It's going to be Bluetooth, yes. And that we're actually planning on using that to expand into future product lines. So it just has so many capabilities through your phone. You really have so many like abilities to go beyond just one product. So we don't want to limit ourselves to one product. We want to actually become a product line and eventually a company.
I
there be some sort of alert system to let you know when the battery's going to die so that the tracking will keep working?
Right, so similar to Life Alert, they've actually just implemented replaceable batteries. So it's going to have that kind of aspect where you're going to have to replace your own battery after a lot amount of time because, like you said, they do degrade.
Let's give them a round of applause. Perfect, thank you. All right, so the next business we have up is called Redeem Generation. It's actually founded by a freshman we have here, Anthony Moody. So the fact that he's a freshman doing this is very impressive in itself. This business is aimed at helping people from different backgrounds gain access to potentially improving their economic standing through artistic display. So let's give them a round of applause and welcome them up.
Hi, how y'all doing today? As they said, I'm Anthony Moody IV. I'm a freshman here at University of Richmond. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to have me come up here and show you my business. So at the age of 13, I've just always been passionate about drawing, designing, and I was just tired of it sitting in a drawer, and I thought, what's the better place to put it than on clothes? So at the age of 13, that's the creation of Redeem Generation. Redeem Generation today is an apparel brand, but we also stand more than that. We also stand as a platform. We are building a platform to allow a curated group of artisans to design, create, and share their artistic abilities with the market in search of unique talents and personalities. In a world of fast fashion and recycled trends, you can go to different stores, find the same kind of designs, and we just provide a different aspect that connects you to our brand and to our artists and makes you really feel different, stand out. As I was introduced, our artists will be carefully selected through communities in the U.S. that are historically economically disadvantaged. These artists will not only influence fashion, art, music, but be constantly encouraged to push the boundaries of what has never been seen. Many artists and individuals like myself come from communities that don't have a lot of opportunities to do things like this, bring you here, bring you to college, and be before you today. My opportunity was through art and Redeem Generation, and today I ask that you help me to bridge that gap. Thank you. This is our core products. We start with t-shirts, jackets, hats, polos, other things of that sort. So our platform will be anchored by our core products such as these, while also with our artisans that we recruit, we also give designers the freedom to create, but they will all adhere to Redeem Generation's core values and vision. Artists will also share in the profits of having their designs created. This also builds them to our community, ties them to Redeem Generation, and also influences them to expand and share it with others. Redeem Generation's goal is also to help invest back into the communities again. A portion of our profits will go to communities that support art initiatives and other things of the sort. Redeem Generation will infiltrate the market by introducing new artists, specifically in the Richmond metro area. And we will also be having a pop-up shop in Carytown in June of this year. So our mission with that is to bring one artist that's gained some traction, has some following, to bring that into the store, and also someone else who has not quite had that same influence yet and give them that opportunity. We're a new company. I've been running it myself, being in high school and going school full-time, working a 40-hour job at Panera and running track. So I've been able to do what I can with the brand and gaining a revenue in thousands of dollars. So I believe that's a great achievement for us, and it just shows how far we can go. So this is some of the traction that we've gained. We've sold in Rumors boutiques. I actually designed the senior shirts for my whole high school's class. And we've also helped other groups like Caring Canines print shirts and, again, generating revenue. I'm the designer, sewer, everything. I've actually altered these pants before you today. So just being able to do these different things, I believe, will give us a different place within the market. These are just some estimated numbers from talking to business owners within the local area that have clothing and researching the market. So we are targeting $750,000 in annual revenue within 3 years for a typical market using Richmond as a prototype. So we expect annual earnings of $250,000 per market by year 3. And here you can find just a list of similar markets to Richmond that I believe that we would prosper in. And with national expansion, we can see a 20 million plus in revenue, which gives us a large portion to give back to our community, which I find very important. So summary of Redeemed Generation. We're a contemporary apparel brand that strives to meet high quality and affordable prices, and providing low quantities in our stock builds demand for our product. Our slogan is, we inspire generations to redeem their dreams. Our end goal is to provide platform and skills development for generations that will be top of the creative/artistic fields. And finally, investing in Redeemed Generation isn't an investment into a company, but into the generations to come. These are just some testimonials, some people that we've never met before, some that we've done shoots with, and it's just a community already, and I'm just excited to see where we go. So, thank you. Any questions?
Since you're revenue generating, can you give us some color behind that?
We've had a revenue of around $1,000 to $2,000, and this is organically. We haven't done much ads. This is simply from me using my own Instagram or Snapchat and things of that sort, and in my local Hopewell, Chester area, and doing that. So,
Who's manufacturing the products?
I do. I have connections with wholesalers. I do screen printing, like I said. I do sewing, things of that sort. So
For all the design types?
Yes.
And are most of them screen printed
Yes.
Designs on all the different piece types?
Yes.
Okay.
What's your marketing spend?
Marketing spend, recently we've kind of picked up in marketing, so we probably try to do around $4 to $8 a day now for a month, so good $100, $110 per month now. We're starting to pick up, expansion. We've gotten contracts with, we're getting into YouTubers, different influencers that have a lot of traction already in their community. We've already got the contract signed and everything like that. We're just getting more into connecting with them and expanding. So
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
we have 420 at the moment. So
On one of your t-shirts, what's the retail? What are you selling it for, and how much does it cost you to make?
Retail is generally for t-shirts about $30, $32. Hoodies of that sort, depending on, of course, the design, what materials go into it, can go up to $40 to $45.
Yep.
As I said, I have a wholesaler, so shirts and things of that sort can range between $2 to $3 for t-shirts, and at the most, probably about $8 for like premium hoodies.
Yep.
And of course, like I said, I print them myself, so we have a nice $16 to $18 profit margin.
Does your website support online sales?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. If there's no more questions, we'll
All right, thank you.
All right, and this is the final business we have of the evening, Tho Auto, that is founded by Anthony Tomasi. This business is mobile, on-demand, anywhere auto repair services. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes up.
All right. Thanks for introducing me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Tomasi, and I am here representing Tho Auto, my vision for on-demand auto maintenance anywhere. This is my car, Layla. I love her a lot, right? Well, Last summer, when she was due for her regular oil change, I took her to my local Valvoline, right? Now, Valvoline's known for their quick and easy service, right? I go there after a long day's work of 12 hours of being outside doing labor in concrete construction, and I have to sit there in a hot car with no air conditioning and sit there while a bunch of people just run around me very frantically. Not the best customer experience, right? Well, they do my oil change, they say, oil's fine, all your fluids look great, we're gonna send you on your way. And I go. Well, about a week later, I'm sitting in the drive-thru at McDonald's, and what do you know, a bunch of smoke starts coming from my hood. You know why? Because I was low on coolant. They didn't do their job right. So I thought to myself, this is not good. There's gotta be a better way. And so the problem is that there are a few certainties in life. There's death, there's taxes, and then there's bad auto shop experiences. Everybody's had them, right? The problem is that people have been waiting in long lines at dealerships. They've been getting ripped off or paying for stuff that they don't need from specialty shops, or they've been making things worse for themselves. And it's been this way since the beginning. The customer service experience hasn't changed in the auto maintenance industry. And that's where Tho Auto comes in. Tho Auto is the modern solution to the age-old problem of keeping your car maintained. We provide mobile auto maintenance where we come to the customer after they order and schedule online, give us some information about their vehicle and tell us where they want us to go, and then we send a freelance contractor out to service their vehicle. Now I thought, this seems pretty interesting. Now I know I don't like car maintenance companies. Let me get the data and see what other people think. So I went out and I asked all my friends of friends, my family, and even strangers on Reddit, hey, what do you guys think of the current auto maintenance industry services? And what I got from the data is that everyone says it's inconvenient, it's hard to maintain my vehicle, and the current stuff isn't that good, and I'd definitely be willing to try something different. Now, the current oil change industry alone is $5.8 billion in yearly revenue. If Tho Auto can get just 1% of that annual revenue, Tho Auto will be worth $60 million. And if Tho Auto can service just 1% of all registered vehicles in America, Tho Auto will be worth over $100 million. We currently have a minimum viable product right now at www.thoauto.com. We're still working on it, but it's just something to get us get our feet running. We plan to start out small with easy, simple services, such as oil changes, tire rotations, and air filter changes, stuff that any contractor could do. As the business expands, we plan to further offer more services, such as spark plug changes and all those other different things. And then, in the grand scheme of things, I hope that Tho Auto can turn itself into a mechanic referral service business for the jobs that we can't do. I hope that Tho Auto can service fleets, rental car fleets, pickup truck fleets for, commercial businesses, construction, etc. And I hope that my grand vision is that you get a light on in your car. If your light says you need an oil change, an email immediately pops to your phone or to your Apple Watch or whatever device you use, and it says, hey, would you like your car changed? Would you like your oil changed? And then by that evening, if you get in the morning, by that evening, someone comes to service your car. So there's a lot of oil change companies out there, right? We plan to differentiate ourselves by making sure that we emphasize convenience, having someone come to you versus having to go to someone else and then wait in line or wait in a lobby for your car. It's a lot different, and I think it's a lot better. We plan to be appealing to contractors by allowing them to be more profitable compared to other gig economy jobs that they can take. And the model for Tho Auto is that for every transaction that occurs, for every sale, for every service, Tho Auto receives 20% of that, and the contractor keeps the remaining 80%. We plan to start out in Columbus, Ohio for phase 1, where I'm from. We plan to service 30 vehicles and recruit 5 freelance contractors. We plan on expanding in both Columbus, Ohio and here in Richmond, Virginia during phase 2 by servicing 90 vehicles and obtaining 10 additional freelance contractors. By phase 3, I want to go big. I want to service 180 total vehicles and recruit freelance contractors from across the nation. Now, the current auto industry, it's old, it hasn't changed, it's a very fragmented market. I think that with Go Auto, because it hasn't been disrupted by the internet, it hasn't been disrupted by the gig economy, that makes it right for Tho Auto to be able to differentiate itself and to get a lot of business. Thanks, you guys. Questions?
Can you talk about your cost model just a little bit? Auto mechanics are hard to find and fairly expensive resources.
Sure.
What's the structure?
So the main thing is that because we're using freelance contractors, we don't want certified mechanics. Pretty much what we want our jobs to be, oil changes, changing a light if your light goes out in your car. That's all stuff that you could do yourself, right? But a lot of people don't have time to do it, or they just, would rather have someone else to do it, right? So we want freelance contractors, people who are handymen, handy women, to join Tho Auto and be able to work for us instead.
You said they're independent contractors, so 1099 employee.
Yes, they're
Training
independent.
them,
Basically through an online training. So like, here's a video, here's what you can be certified to do, here's a video on how to do it. Once you watch this video, you know how to do it, go out and do it. If you mess up on it, either you carry insurance and your insurance pays for it, or you say, hey, I'm responsible for my work, if I break it, I buy it. I have not. I've been thinking about that actually. I read guerrilla marketing, and so part of it he said, email marketing. It's very important. So I think is that because it's supposed to be every 6 months for synthetic, 3 months for regular oil. So if we make a sale in January, if someone gets a regular standard oil change, in 2.5 months say, hey, your oil's almost due. Just being able to market like that. Because when you think about like Valvoline, when you think about your dealership, they don't market to you, right? They don't send you emails when they know that you need an oil change. So I think that's something that can also differentiate ourselves.
And I also think about for you, this is labor on demand. It's
Mhm.
really what you're doing, you're putting two people together, you're really just a broker at that point.
Mhm.
And, in some respects, some of the people you could get would be people who are looking for extra money on the side.
Of course, yeah, that's why I think it's, as we're moving, as the gig economy expands, I believe that there's gonna be a lot more side work. I remember I worked at Thompson Concrete over the summer, and so, all my guys, it was interesting because they'd all work their day jobs 50, 60, even up to 100 hours a week during the week, and then on the weekends they go and do residential work, and for themselves, or like, hey, someone else needs a side job, I'll help you out with that. And I just thought that was interesting because I'm like, this would be a lot easier. You could be with your kids more, I think it could be more profitable than driving for Uber or driving for, Lyft.
And then where'd you come up with the idea of this oil change, oil filter, tire change? Is there any research behind what you think that the people?
Those, I think, oil changes,
Oil change makes sense to me.
yeah.
Air filter, I don't think you're doing that on your own, it's gonna come in some sort of package.
What you can actually do that on your own. So it costs about $15 for a new filter, and then it's a pretty easy process. You can just take it out, pop it back in.
Sure.
Most people can learn how to do it online, watch it on YouTube.
No, I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
I think the first phase, you're talking about those three things. I'm not so sure anybody's gonna call for do their tires, you can rotate it.
But what I would think is that if someone orders an oil change, also say, hey, would you like your tires rotated for an extra $10 or $15?
That's a huge pain in the ass without a lift.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
balancing the tires too.
Yeah.
You have to think about balancing the tires too whenever you do rotation.
The other thing that I'm thinking about that's like a huge service piece is your state inspections, and you're not going to be able to offer that without, a certified mechanic. So if I've got a late model car, with nothing going wrong on it, it should in theory be a check the box, quick visual inspection. But without that certified mechanic behind it, they won't be able to sign off on that.
Mhm.
If they did find someone, you may have to send it in, but I think that would be a huge benefit to be able to offer that specifically for people that you're not expecting to, have to replace brake pads or do anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the last thing is, anytime you have labor on demand,
definitely want to include customer feedback so that way we can scale faster. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Let's give him a round of applause.
All right, thank you.